struggling to come to grips with reality. Confusion and chaos have become part of me. I seek answers to know where my liberation lies. Only in peace and calmness does that clarity arise. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmissions. So many voices, so many interpretations. No answers given, only outer temptations. Where can I find that truth inside of me? Realization of what I am is all I'm wanting to see. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmissions. No more redirection, ending the contemplation. Forget fighting reflection. Outer world's a projection. Internal is the cause, external's an effect, put it on pause. I'm silencing the noise, centering, entering void. Truth is beautifully subtle, the voice without a voice. Heart and mind shall settle, making decisions now, escaping illusions of choice. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmission. The wisdom transmissions.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Earth Intelligence Report live stream. So this is going to be on every single Wednesday, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time. In the next few minutes, we're going to go ahead and get right into the Earth Intelligence Report itself. But before we get started, we're going to go ahead and go into some announcements. And so, with the brand new service that is now available, this is the Personal Transcendence Package on Wisdom Transmissions. I'm now offering this ultimate service, as I can refer to it as, the Personal Transcendence Package, where I'll function as your own spiritual liaison, working on your behalf to eliminate physical ailments in the body, emotional turmoil, and traumatic karma. By working with advanced energy techniques and interacting with your own higher levels of being, I will help you in restoring the body, clearing emotional heaviness, and ending old karmic patterns permanently. So you can find out more. Again, you just click on the button here, and you can order now. I've already got quite a few people who have enrolled, and it is a very rewarding experience. Again, I've been doing sessions for 17 years, and this particular Personal Transcendence Package is by far the most powerful. It is a very deep healing. And again, you have a subscription-based service where you're working with me for 30 days or even longer, and being able to root out a lot of old physical ailments, emotional imbalance, emotional turmoil, traumatic experiences, and even going right into your karmic patterns and clearing them away altogether, all permission-based, and again, based on a subscription model. So again, you just go to wisdomtransmissions.com and you can check out this brand new service. I've already got quite a few people enrolled already, and it's such a rewarding experience. So check it out for yourself if you feel like this is something that you really do need, and you've tried to do a lot of self-work on yourself, but you need a helping hand. This is the best service for that, and there's nobody else on the internet that offers something like this. So again, check it out today, wisdomtransmissions.com. And as I talked about last week, Etherics is now back up and running. So again, we have our products that are back, Bioscalar and Rejuvenation Technology. We also have our newest services, which is an item imbuing service, where you can turn any item in your home into an Etherics frequency technology. If you guys are big fans of Radiate or the Prana beds that were here as well too, that are still here, the version 2s, then you're going to love the imbuing service, because we're taking any particular household item that you have and we're transmuting it into Etherics frequency technology. We also have the full body scan and imbuing service as well too, where we do a body scan on you and then we can imbue an object, or again, we have a geometry that we imbue as well too, that can help with the healing process through the full body scan on Etherics. And this Friday, we're going to be debuting the third service, which is going to be the furniture and room imbuing service, where again, we can turn your bed into a healing bed. We can turn your couch into a healing couch. We can take your chair and turn that into a healing chair. We can even get a panoramic photo from you about your whole room and turn your room into a healing room, right? So that is going to be the third service that'll be debuting this Friday when I'm doing the Wisdom Nexus broadcast on Friday, which I'll be announcing at that time. So again, you can check that out at etherics.co. And finally, we have the Indiegogo campaign for the brand new Radiate Amrita that is currently in development. So right now we're almost at the goal. We are at 9,400. So we have 7 days left of our campaign. We're almost there. Like I said, I'm basically putting 10,000 forward, and the other 10,000 is coming from the people. So this is about a $20,000 project, and we're almost there. We're at 94% of the way. So again, you can find the link in the video description as well too, to go to the Indiegogo campaign. If you can't see it there, just go to indiegogo.com and then just type in Radiate. Okay, so I just go here, I type in Radiate, go enter on indiegogo.com, and there it is right here. You can click on that and you can go there, but I'll make sure that the link is in the video description as well too. I'm not too sure if I put it in, but I'll make sure after the broadcast it goes in. So again, check out indiegogo.com, into Radiate, and again, we are so close and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to start working on that here in October. About a day or two after the campaign is over, I'll be getting things rolling, because we are pretty much here. We have the blueprints, we have the developmental plan, and it's just a matter of putting it together. Okay, so we're going to go ahead now and get started with today's broadcast, the Earth Intelligence Report. And hello, everybody. Welcome. Glad you're here. We are going to be taking some questions after the Earth Intelligence Report. So, and if any of you do have any questions, you can feel free to post it. This is a much more shorter webcast than the Wisdom Nexus. Wisdom Nexus I'm usually on for 2 hours. Today it's probably just going to be under an hour. But we'll have a few questions. If anybody does have any questions afterwards, please feel free to post, and it can be on any general topic that you like. I'm not doing any personal readings, okay? So personal readings are for Fridays, but you can certainly ask any general topics if you have any. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my headphones on, and we're going to get ready to start the Earth Intelligence Report. So again, it's kind of following Earth Intelligence Report traditions, where I basically have this kind of beautiful display screen where we have the text coming up from the Consortium of Infinite Intelligence. So what I was doing the other night was just tuning directly into what's known as the Consortium of Infinite Intelligence, and getting the feedback in regards to this digital ID agenda and why it will fail. So that is going to be the topic of the Earth Intelligence Report for this week. And then after that is done, we'll come back, we'll check on the chat, we'll see if any of you guys have any questions as well too that you want to look into. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Here we go. So the question is for the Consortium of Infinite Intelligence, if they can elaborate more on the digital ID agenda. And they say, "We acknowledge your query. It is for your people to know that this agenda will lead to the complete dismantling of what is loosely termed as the cabals of this planet. It is also apparent that such an agenda is going to flow through the collective centralization of these institutions as their last means of an attempted control agenda. Yet it is also crucial to know that these agendas involving digital identification often relate to deliberate mirages or false flag events, as they are termed. These agendas are indeed contrived and placed into the collective consciousness as to shake loose a great storm of emotional retaliation that will lead to the complete dismantling of these institutions operated by such cabals. The chain reaction of this event is a greater push forward to neutralize the continued construct of the ruling class as a means of exposing greater intel that will result in a bait-and-switch tactic. More of these appointed leaders throughout nature's will no longer remain clandestine, and be insistent that they fall in line with this level of exposure to enforce as a delusional centralized effort of control and manipulation. The fruits of these actions will lead to a worldwide revolution. Men, women, and children from many nations will take to the streets, protesting injustice, leading to the downfall of a centralized empire. Like many empires before itself, it will lead to its collapse, ending centuries of control, corruption, manipulation, violence, warfare, and poverty. The human race is going through a troubling time with their realization that the systems they have held onto for necessity will only reveal itself as a wolf in sheep's clothing. These agendas, although perpetrated through greater behind-the-scenes intentions, are the key to humanity moving into a unified front. A revolution is the last remaining piece of the puzzle that will lead the people of the earth upon a new path that will represent unification, community, and strength as new events follow with the crumbling empire of an old cabal that has long since been finished with any advantages of power and authority. This digital identification agenda will only result in revolution, where that masses of resistance will become so great that the ruling globalists will have no alternative but to watch the attempt fail. When the people are aware and realize the corruption behind such an agenda, it will never see the light of day upon your world. It will only remain as an agenda leading to what such a cabal fears the most, the practical rise to a worldwide revolution. This is what can be shared regarding your query. We are the Consortium of Infinite Intelligence, and we will now conclude. All right, so that is the Earth Intelligence Report. That is what was shared from the Consortium of Infinite Intelligence. So when we look at that, it's basically saying that this is indeed a contrived event. It was something that has been planned for a very long time. I even go back into the early 2020s when we were talking about digital IDs. I think it was even like back in 2019 as well. Talking about the digital IDs and how it's not really rolling out yet, but when it does roll out, it will fail big time because people are waking up by leaps and bounds right now. So the consortium is basically saying that this is something that has been contrived. This is a plan. This is all part of a false flag agenda of them basically pulling this off because, again, it has much more of a deeper means. It's all just about working together with surveillance and trying to control people and all of that. And it's doomed to fail. This is almost like it's like a coup that is meant to happen just as a means of showing people your systems as you know it are about to fall, are about to completely become dismantled. So the consortium is primarily saying that this is what's going to lead to worldwide revolution. And this is also what I've been saying. looking into not just this year, because we're starting to see that. We're seeing places in Canada, like in Toronto, they're already starting to do rallies, large-scale protests. They're going to be doing it in the United States as well, too. They're already doing it in the UK. There's quite a few different countries right now that are now starting to go under massive protest, massive rallies, and this is only going to continue. And especially in 2026, with it being a year of revolution, a lot of countries, a lot of big cities within these countries are going to have people out in the streets in the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps even in the millions. This is leading to a worldwide revolution. And the other day, I was also putting up a video just promoting the Earth Intelligence Report today. And I also talked about the nature of the government shutdown. And I think that's already official now for the states here today on October 1st. And I could tell that there's, the odd person that does get upset and saying, Brad, what are you talking about? How is this a good thing, right? Are you smoking something? Things are only getting worse. And I said, well, that's great. That's exactly what you want. You want things to hit rock bottom. Because when everything hits rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go but up. The greatest tragedies bring about the greatest unity. Whenever there is a worsening of a situation, this is welcoming in the greatest change. So, like I said, unfortunately, my friends, these systems are not going to survive. And my goodness, I've been saying that for years. All the common systems that we have that are screwing people over, that favor 0.1% of the planet, while everybody else is just feeding off the crusts of life, isn't going to stay. It's going to die. It's going to fall apart. These systems we use on a daily basis are in no way sustainable. They serve only the select few. And we have been so controlled and conditioned in eating a bunch of crap sandwiches every day. And now someone's finally taking away your crap sandwiches and saying, hey, what are you doing? Give me back my crap sandwich, right? And saying, no, it's no longer time for you to be eating crap sandwiches anymore. It's now time for you to start eating divine fruit. But there's going to be a transition between that. So this is exactly what we are seeing. We are seeing the idea, because again, there's, what Starmer said in the UK about it's mandatory for everybody to have digital IDs. This coming from a guy who basically just got booted right out of his own parliament by the speaker. That's basically showing a prelude of what is coming. He's not going to be a leader for very much longer. He's going to be completely taken out of the picture. And so there is like a wave that's coming together, and it feels like that wave is going to be very apparent here in the last couple of months of 2025. And then when you get into 2026, there is action. It's almost like action as soon as it's like a starter pistol that just goes off and like, okay, go. And like everything is just going to start changing dramatically. I would say around the time of the Chinese New Year, okay, not of the common New Year that we get, the Gregorian New Year. It's more like, again, the Chinese New Year, where we start getting into like around the time of February. That's when things really start taking off. The Chinese New Year would actually be a lot more accurate than the Gregorian New Year that we're so used to. But as we get into 2026, it's like a starter pistol. Okay, ready, get set, go, poof, bam. I should say poof when I'm firing a pistol. Bang, okay? But then there's going to be a lot of changes afoot, right? We're just seeing complete and total dismantle. And I think it's going to happen in so many areas at once. It's going to be really difficult to keep up with everything that's happening. It's pretty much like that now, where it's just so difficult to try to keep up with everything that's taking place because so much is happening. But that's going to intensify in 2026. Why 2026? 2026 is a 1 year, right? So that represents new beginnings, new leadership, blazing a new trail, starting something fresh and new. And it's also the year of the fire horse, right? So when we're looking at the year of the fire horse, that is an animal that is just blazing a trail, and with fire behind it, its action, its energy, its aggression. Okay, people are going to be even more mad in 2026. Just giving you guys fair warning right now. You guys think you're mad now? You're going to get even madder when we get into 2026. Mark my words on that. Okay? Because again, I say these things, and then people forget that I've actually said these things. And then they come into me, oh, Brad, why is this happening? You didn't talk about this. Of course I've talked about it. Right? If you guys are tuning into me every week, I'm talking about these things and I'm seeing these things happen. So even as I'm looking at the world right now, right, from what the Earth Intelligence Report was sharing about this triggering worldwide revolution, even if I'm looking at the planet right now and I'm kind of moving forward in time, right, I'm just seeing people with signs. I'm seeing people, raising their fists, protesting, fighting. Everything is just going to tumble down, right? It's like they're just grabbing these big platforms and they're just pushing against it, and these platforms are tumbling down, right? It's like these big pillars that the people are just pushing against, and they're just tumbling down. 2026 really is the complete and total restructuring and taking down of an old system and bringing about a new system in its place. So I think this will be something very, very interesting, right? We may start to see new financial changes. We may start to see new changes in the market. We may again start to see old leaders being kicked right out of the office and new elections being brought forward, snap elections, whatever it may be, right? All of these things are going to be happening. People are going to be just completely irate and going out into the street in the thousands, like I said, tens, hundreds of thousands, perhaps even the millions, all over. Even if we're looking into the continent of Africa, we're going to see a giant uprising. Adronis was saying that Africa is basically going to be cut in half. Now, that's not a literal term, that's not physical, but in regards to the great divide between the people and those corrupted ones who have been contaminating the continent of Africa for such a long time, the people are really going to be standing up to it. It's going to be pretty violent in Africa, right? In many different countries as we get into 2026, right? It's going to be pretty intense. That's why I'm kind of glad I'm going to Egypt here in November before all that stuff breaks loose. Next year is probably not a good idea to travel anywhere. Okay, we have to be a little bit mindful. It depends upon the person, of course, but in a collective level, probably not a good idea to travel, right? If you're going to travel, try to get your travel plans done this year. Next year is just not a good day not a good year to travel altogether. So like I said, we can expect worldwide revolution. We can expect a lot of change, a lot of fire coming out of people. Like I said, it's kind of like we're angry, then we're miffed, and now we're completely and totally outraged. That's kind of the scale of where it's going. And when there's that pure outrage of the people, like I said, nothing pertaining to the cabals, these corporations are safe. They're going to be tumbling down. They do not have their resource anymore. The people are no longer their resources. They're opposing everything that they do. And when that happens, you can't say anything, you can't do anything other than run. And that's basically what they're going to be doing, because they're a bunch of cowards. When you show strength to them, when you actually show bravery, they will not meet that bravery because they're a bunch of chicken shits. And they will run. They're cowards, right? That's your cabal. They're chickens, they're cowards, and they only do these things when they do it clandestinely, right? They cannot do this, face to face. They always have to hide themselves because they're just absolute cowards. And so when the people are standing up against that, the only choice they have is to run. And like I said, you got millions and millions of people, even say billions of people, now standing up against them, where nothing they say works anymore. We've won, my friends. They have created the very thing that they fear the most, and that's the Great Awakening, as I've talked about before. All right, let's go ahead and get into some questions, because some questions are emerging here. And we have one donation-based question here first, so we'll get to that one. And Year of the Fire Horse, thank you. It's Chris, and Chris says, "Hi Brad, can you tell us exactly once again what it means when you and Jonas says that we are gods in training?" Okay. Well, he's talked about this to death, so I can basically tell you about that, okay? When we're looking at the nature of gods in training, the training really represents surpassing the illusion. So when you are a god in training, you're basically looking at how you have the capability to see beyond all of this, evolve your life, move into a state of peace, move into a state of harmony, and just be within yourself, in harmony, in love, right? Because that's the godly nature of yourself. It's basically looking at yourself as a vessel of God, a vessel of the divine, right? You are not God, but God is you. That's the best way to look at this. So when we're looking at a god in training, it's one who's still looking at the modern world and thinking that they're being affected by the modern world and believing that the modern world has a hold on them. When they start to let go of that quote unquote training and they move into being the vessel of a living God, everything is available to you. Just everything comes to you, right? You move into such a state of purity that purity enables you to receive whatever it is that you wish, right? The key here, and the key of being that vessel of a living God, really comes down to being completely and totally selfless. That's what it comes down to. The more that you are actually a selfless being, the more everything comes to you. Everything will. And I mean everything, right? You're able to basically do whatever you want. You're able to bring people into your life, whoever you wish. You're able to manifest things almost instantaneously. It's the idea of being a pure soul. It's the idea of being a pure being. So that goes beyond the training. But the training is saying, are you still going to see yourself as part of the world? Are you still going to see yourself as a problem? Are you a manifestation of a conflict? Is that all you see yourself as? And if you do, then that's you still being in training. Otherwise, you're learning to let these things go, right? That's why I've developed the trauma transcendence technique, the cord removal healing, this brand new personal transcendence package, where again, I'm working with people. I'm actually helping to hold their hand and get them through this so we can actually clear this out so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. I can talk about this till the cows come home. But until you actually do the work that I'm actually suggesting, then you'll understand. Because otherwise, if you're just listening to me and it's just a bunch of parrot talk and nothing's being done, you'll never grasp what I'm saying. You have to do the work. You have to apply this. So whether you're doing it on your own, right, using a technique like TTT, like Trauma Transcendence Technique, or whether you're hiring me as your spiritual liaison to help you through this, just so you can get a glimpse of what I'm talking about, then you'll know exactly what I mean. To actually be completely and totally selfless, to just be there for service. It's like what I teach my students in the Adronis Patreon, right? Is waking up in the morning and the very first thought you have is, I'm here to be of service. I'm here to serve. That's it. And I do that every single morning. And I encounter these situations where service is needed. And it's the most rewarding and beautiful and pure thing, because you can feel the strength within yourself become more illuminated when that happens. So the nature of being a god in training, where they're still identifying themselves as being part of the world, and one who is moving into being the vessel of a living God, is one who is moving that pure path, who's being completely selfless, where everything comes to you. And I mean that in the most literal way possible. Everything comes to you because it has come to me, right? I'm not up here talking a bunch of trash where I have not experienced these things. I walk my talk, my friends. And so this is why I'm teaching you these things. I would not be a teacher if I did not experience these things. And I can tell you that anybody can do it. But you have to have that willpower. You have to have that wanting to do this. That's the key. Okay? So I hope that answers your question. Chris, thank you so much. Okay. This one here is from Frantasia555. Hello. For your integrity and just being you. Oh, well, thank you. You do have a question here, so I'll go ahead and read that out. Does free energy come to the world soon after the revolution phase? And does that allow us to bounce back quickly in harmony? You're on the right track. But the funny thing is I wouldn't really call it free energy. I can understand what people are trying to say by calling it a free energy device. It would be more like looking at unlimited abundant energy. Unlimited abundant energy. And like I said, a lot of the technologies that they're building in the modern world is still limited, right? And there needs to be a spokesperson that needs to stand up. And I'm no engineer, right? I'm not an engineer of building free energy devices. I've never done that. I've talked about it, right? The close kind of engineering that I've done is what you would see on Etherics, right? Where I'm basically taking common products and I'm putting codes into them. But I'm talking about people who are actually engineering, building these particular types of devices and utilizing them. And there's so many different types, right? We can look at things like plasma batteries. We can look into the idea of plasma energy. We can look into the idea of magnetics. We can look into the nature of frequencies. We can look into sacred geometry that's being utilized to generate power. We can look into torsion fields. There's a lot of different types of, I wouldn't call them free devices, but abundant energy devices out there. Unfortunately, where it lacks, there's no spokesperson for it. There's no person who's taking that amazing device, even if we're looking back at Tesla technology, right? If we're looking back at the Tesla coil, if we're looking at the Wardenclyffe towers, which we can certainly use. People know how to build them, right? There's been tests even in Russia about people who are building Wardenclyffe towers or Tesla coils. And again, quite a few different areas in the world that are building that. And those are sustainable, abundant energy devices. They're not the only ones, but they're ones that many of us are familiar with. Where it lacks is there's no one who's being a spokesperson for it. There's no one who's coming up and saying, guys, this is where we need to shift. And now they get millions of people's attention and saying, this is what we have. We have all of these abundant energy devices. And here's one that we can actually show you. Here's one that works. Do I see something like that happening? Yes, I do. I can't say it's right away, but I would say maybe around close to the end of this decade, perhaps the start of the next, we may start to see more technology like that. Because, yeah, I mean, you can't work with this solar technology and wind technology and all this stuff. And that's crappy alternative tech. And it's dirty alternative tech as well, too. It's no better than basically working together with coal plants or nuclear power, anything of that nature. Solar panels are toxic, right? Wind turbines are dangerous, deadly, right? So they don't work at all. So a lot of these alternative techs, we'll just go ahead and put some solar panels on it. Yeah, well, thanks for putting a bunch of toxic panels on my roof. That's not going to help at all. And again, it doesn't even give that much of an output. You have to put so many of those stupid things on your roof to try and get any considerable amount of power. Their efficiency is such a low percentage. So that's not the future. Those things are garbage. Really, the whole idea is the abundant energy technology. So yes, it exists. It's there. A lot of people have talked about it, but no one has really got behind it to push it ahead. And that's what we need. We need someone to go ahead and get behind this abundance technology who has a lot of people following them and say, hey, this works, right? There's a guy, I'm not too sure of his name. I think he's in the States. He's been able to turn plastic back into gasoline, right? These are the incredible inventions that we need. And like I said, he's attempting to build a following. You can find him on TikTok, I believe. But there's people, again, that I'm seeing people on TikTok and on YouTube building these incredible, abundant energy devices. But there's nobody getting behind them. No celebrities getting behind them. No person that has a lot of stroke for millions of people is getting behind these things to push them. And if that happens, we'll see this emerge very quickly. I would say if you know these people who are very popular, tell them about these energy devices and look at them. Some of them are already ready to be displayed, and that once they're looked at, they can be built up and scale, and we could probably utilize that for something very, very powerful, right? But more people need to get behind this. The whole idea is this is still grassroots movement. A lot of these alternative, abundant energy technologies are still caught up in the underground. And we need to bring them up above ground and shoot them all the way to the moon. So if we can do that, we will see a lot of these technologies come together. But the people have to get behind it, right? It's not a bunch of just a cult, so to speak, of about 1,000 people. Hey, this is great. This is going to change the world. Okay, well, do you have millions of people following this guy? No, then it's not. You need to get the word out. You need millions of people to start looking at this technology and getting it out there. And then when you do that, now it has something in the collective consciousness that we can start to change. We need at least that million people that are looking at this abundant energy technology. They see how it works. The person is testing it. They're proving how it works right in front of thousands of eyeballs, right? Maybe millions or more that are tuning in through like a live stream. And now we have something. Now we have something good. Push that to the moon. But unfortunately, a lot of these particular alternative energy devices are underground and they're grassroots and they can't be there. We have to push them higher. It's time for these things to be mainstream. So that's up to us. We have to do that. If that happens, then yes, I would say within the next few years, we could have something really powerful on the planet pertaining to energy devices that can do that. Abundant energy devices. But it's up to us. We have to get it out there. We got to get it out of the underground. You got to get it for everybody to see. That's the key. But yes, I do see that happening within the next few years. Okay, I don't have a date on that because I don't set dates. But I'm getting the impression, I don't think it's going to be too far along, but perhaps late 2020s, early 2030s. But I'm just spitballing that. Okay, it can always change, but I do see it coming together in the next few years. Yes. Okay, thank you for your question. I think that's all the donation-based questions. So let's go ahead and take a look and see if there's any other questions here. Okay, this one here is from Jan. Jan says, "Hi Brad, do you see the new government coming in Chile, which there will be presidential elections next month?" Okay, let's take a look at the cards for that and see what comes up for Chile. Okay, well, it looks like the agenda is going to be flipped in Chile with the next election. Okay, I'm kind of seeing good cards and I'm seeing some cautionary cards at the same time. Okay, so this is kind of like the outlook of what is happening with Chile right now. So it looks like there's a new beginning, right? Something that represents great fertility, right? New beginnings, a new birth, right? Because we have the Empress who's pregnant. We got the Venus energy, love, compassion. So I feel like Chile is going to be moving through a very powerful election time. But my friends, here's the thing. Politicians are not going to make your situation better. Okay? They're just not. What is going to make your situation better are people. Because this is why I always get this duality when it comes to politicians, right? We think that, okay, we get these elections and everything is going to be better. No. You get these elections and it triggers something within your people, and your people decide to make something better. Okay? This is not coming out of the politician that's going to be elected. This is coming out of all of you, right? The people of Chile are going to make Chile better, not politicians. Okay? Donald Trump is not making the United States better. The people are making it better. Right? And the same thing with any leader in any country. They are not it. The people are it. They will just be a reflection of the collective consciousness relating to that country. And how they act, how they respond, what their agendas are, that is what's going to crack the shells out of people, and people will respond accordingly. Which means, to me, it feels like Chile's probably going to go through revolution, just like everybody else. Okay? So again, we're seeing here in the past, right? People will get hopeful about the idea of new parties coming together with politics because people just still get this blind idea of thinking that your politicians are going to make things better. My God, they've never made anything better. They've never really done anything good. It's the people behind them, right? All a politician is just a mirror reflection. And if there's a lot of corruption in that country, they're going to reflect that corruption. If there's a new beginning in that country where we're going to start to see transformation taking place, they will reflect that transformation. But they are not doing it. This is why these politicians are absurd. They're not the ones that are changing the country. The people are changing the country. So again, this is very important to know, is getting out of this rut of thinking that your politics are going to change anything in your country. They don't do anything. All they do all day is sit in a stupid building and bitch and whine and complain and moan, get their payday, and go home, right? And they don't do anything. They don't resolve anything. Who is resolving things in your country? People. People are resolving things. The people have the power, okay? So this is why I say there's going to be a lot of fighting. A lot of infighting. This is where I'm getting kind of the dualistic view, particularly with Chile with its upcoming election. A lot of fighting, a lot of battling, a lot of defending yourselves. But I actually look at this much more as the people's card, right? Not the politicians. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of fighting, a lot of backlash, a lot of anger. A lot of anger comes out during these times of election. People just, again, draw their line in the sand and they step over to the other side. No, I'm on this side. You better like what I'm doing on this side. Well, yeah, I'm going to be on this side, so you better like what I'm doing on this side. And it just becomes separation consciousness, and that's not the idea. Okay. So in the near future, we're looking into the idea, like I said, of secrets being revealed, new events coming together, new transformations taking place. This is moving much more into the depths of the subconscious, where we are going to see a tremendous shift. So again, the elections may not go in the way that you think. Okay? There may be some major surprises that are coming together. And like I said, when we get into 2026, this is the time of revolution. So like I said, your politicians are going to continue to disappoint you over and over and over again. It does not matter if they're conservative. It does not matter if they're liberal. It doesn't matter. Okay? They all just have an agenda. They follow their bosses. All of these people in their political parties are never their own bosses. They work for some type of corporation. They work for some type of industry. They work for some type of organization. They are yes people, and somebody is sponsoring them. Somebody is paying them. Somebody is putting them on this pedestal and saying, here you go. You're a spokesperson for the people. Politicians don't work. They never have worked. They never will work. And I don't care what leader it is that you name. They're politicians. They don't do shit. Right? The people do the work. The people make things better. And that's what we got to get out of. We got to get out of this whole funk of believing that political parties are going to make a change. That's garbage. You are going to make the change. People are going to make the change. Politicians are just being a mirror. We're the ones that make the change. That's why revolution has to happen. If politicians were actually making changes all of these years, why are we where we are right now? Can any of you answer that? If politicians have been able to be such good fellows, why are we in the situation that we are right now? Why is the world on the brink of watching old systems collapse because they're garbage and we need to build something new? Why are we doing that? Because politicians don't do anything. They're garbage and they're useless. It's us that make the change. Because again, we see what they represent as mirrors, and then the common everyday person stands up and says, all right, I'm going to make changes. I'm going to work with everybody, and we're going to bring things in. It's this revolution that is going to really make the change. That's the benchmark to a whole new era, not politicians, right? So I'm showing you this, guys, because what I'm really telling you here is just the truth. We have spent decades trying to think, I'll put this person into power, and if that person comes into power, then you get disappointed. And then there's another person, oh, they look good, okay, I'll put them into power, and then you do that and you get disappointed because they're not the boss. They're just a spokesperson. They're just a fall guy. They're just somebody that you put in there, put on a pedestal, and they start blabbing and start telling you everything that you want to hear, but nothing gets done. Empty promises, empty truths, nothing but lies. The people have always made the change. It's never been politicians, right? So what I'm seeing here is that there's an upset pertaining to the political run here in Chile. Again, I'm seeing the wheel of fortune, okay? So there's going to be a shift, but I feel that shift is leading into revolution for Chile, okay? I can't say that there's some good old political figure that's going to come in and make all your dreams come true. Sorry, guys, that's not going to happen. That's never happened, and it will not happen as long as we have the current systems. They got to die. Something new has to come in its place, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick and tired of that garbage, of this whole political run trying to fill people with so much hopium and crap and garbage, only to leave more and more people disappointed. It's ridiculous, it's garbage, it's childish. It needs to die. And something new needs to take its place that actually listens to the people, because these people do not listen to you at all. They listen to their bosses, not you, as we see. Okay? Let's go ahead and move on. Okay. All right. Okay, Okay, this one here is from Rocco KH. Hi, Adronis and Brad. How do you see the Middle East, specifically Iran's situation in the next few months? Do you see a regime change? Okay, if I'm going to kind of tune into the Akasha right now, I'll probably look into the tarot as well, too. Just in regards to Iran. Iran is going to stay steadfast with their position, okay? I don't see them going through immense amounts of change. I feel like they're still going to be very steadfast with where they stand on many different aspects, right? They still hate Israel in that way. They basically want to bomb Israel to the ground. So I don't think they're changing that position in the next few months, okay? So I feel like they're still going to stand their ground to how they are right now. But let's take a look at the cards and see what the cards are going to say. With Iran's situation right now, how will it pan out in the next few months? Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, it's basically they're standing their position, but like I said, I think they're going to get a lot of retaliation against how they operate. So my feeling here is this is the current situation right now with the Knight of Wands, right? Like I said, I think that they really want to bash Israel into the ground, right? There's that fire energy, that wand there, the Knight. And the past is, of course, it just feels like they're just constantly getting screwed around with, and nobody really wants to agree with them, right? They're not getting what they want. And we go into the present moment. Looks like there may be some shifts taking place within themselves, but not major shifts that's going to change their position. Again, like I said, Iran basically wants to be free of everything relating to Israel. But it feels like they're still going to be in a bind. This is what I'm saying. I don't see them changing anytime soon within the next few months. A lot of things need to be destroyed within Iran in order for change to happen. Okay? So that can represent the idea of maybe there's a fight going on, maybe there's a battle going on, maybe there's internal struggles pertaining to leadership that's going on. But all of this, got a fruit fly here. All of this is going to continue to play itself out. Iran is basically at a point right now where it needs to play these things out. They've basically sat in the mess of their actions, and it needs to play itself out accordingly, right? So, okay, fruit fly, go away. So that's what I'm getting with Iran. I don't see them changing within these next few months. They're basically, they have to play these things out. This like little fruit fly is coming in. There you go. Shoo. Like I said, that happens. There's always something that comes in to try to distract you out of your trance. But that's what I see with it, Iran. Iran is going to be going through a lot of upset. I feel like it's going to be going through a lot of destruction, internal destruction as well too. And maybe that will change it. But I don't see it's changing its position within the next few months. No. Okay. That's what I'm getting. Thank you for your comment, question. All right, let's go ahead and move on. How are we on time here? We got a few minutes left. Okay. Okay. This one here is from Francois Parent. Hope I haven't pronounced your name right. Is the banking system, will it collapse this year because that is something to upset people and make them move from the sofa? Yes. Yeah. I mean, if we're looking at the idea of a government shutdown right now and money situations are happening, even in Canada, right? They're talking about the idea that Canada's going to go bankrupt within the next year or so. So I think it still needs to play out throughout 2026 about being on the brink of folding, right? The whole brink of your country going bankrupt. So I think it's more of brink talk. We're on the brink of this, we're on the brink of that, etc. So 2026 is going to launch with new innovations. Like I said, I think cryptocurrency is probably going to be the new replacement for all of the financial systems, right? But as I said, it's financial systems, not a financial system. But I think it's all going to move into digital currency. That's really where everything is going to be going. So I think there's going to be more talk about that in 2026. But like I said, there needs to be new applications. But this is a time of a new beginning. So like I said, I think that we're going to see things unfold. I think we're going to see things blossom with the idea of new currency coming together. It certainly would not be this year because it's a 9-year, right? As a 9 universal year, everything needs to end, right? So as things are ending, then we go into the 1 and everything begins again. And through a new beginning, we may start to see an introduction to the platform of something like digital currency. But like I said, it's not a good year for Bitcoin next year. So besides Bitcoin, other forms of crypto could certainly be in that limelight. But like I said, Bitcoin is going to get hammered pretty hard next year because it's in its enemy year, right? So it's not going to be good. And that is something we need to be aware of. But yes, I certainly see that there's going to be some, I can't say the banking systems will fully collapse, but they're basically on the brink. Everything is just on the brink, on the brink, on the brink. And they're basically giving this projection for like another year or a year and a half. And so I think 2027 would be more of that time, okay? So 2027 would be an 11 year. So when we go into an 11 year, it's emotions flying high, right? So 2026, like I said, is like the fire horse that's just knocking everything down. And then when you start going into an 11 year, there's just emotions running everywhere. Everyone's going to be so emotional. But it also represents a time of great communication. And so through those states of communication, we may start to see more systems come together that will overhaul the banks. I don't think the banks themselves are going to completely disappear. They're going to be overhauled, right? So I don't see it disappearing. If there's a collapse, it's going to be rebuilt once again. So banks aren't really going anywhere. Just the old representation of them is going to be going. But they're still going to be around. They're still going to be kicking for whatever particular type of new financial system comes together. So they'll still be around, but overhaul, most definitely. Okay? Thank you for your question. All right, let's move on to Carol Ann here. Hi, Brad. I live in New York, but not New York City. Can you do a reading to see if that Zoran Marndani will get an office for mayor? Okay, I guess so. We can do that. Like I said, guys, it's not about friggin' politics. But I know you guys are interested in it, but it gets you nowhere. It's not going to help you at all. But let's take a look. Maybe I'm venting a bit, but like I said, guys, I'm sorry, but politics are not going to save you. It's not going to help you at all. Let's take a look at Mamdani, if they will get into office as mayor. Okay. It looks good for them. Okay, that's really all I can say, is it looks good for them. I can't 100% guarantee that they get an office because things can always change. And there's a lot of minor arcana here as well, too. So minor arcana is on the brink of change. But in the near future, we do have a major arcana here, which is the Fool, right? So people may celebrate the idea of the mayor, but like I said, you people are in charge, not a friggin' mayor, okay? You tell them exactly what they need to do. They are supposed to be public servants. As a public servant, they are supposed to serve the public. So get on their case. Make sure that they are doing their work as a public servant. But most likely it feels like they will be. They will be getting in. Okay? All right. But please, don't put your power in politicians. My God. It's one of the most foolish things to do. Truth or Travel says, hi, Brad. Can you delve a little bit deeper in what a decentralized world would look like? Besides states and countries becoming more independent, what about at the societal? That is a great question. Truth or Travel, thank you. I look forward to these particular types of questions because now we can go a lot more deeper into that. And I need you guys to ask these questions, right? Because then we can start going much more deeper into what is going on. When we look at a decentralized population, nobody has their hands on a switch, right? If you want to go and get a job, you basically can go ahead and get a job. You can look at what's available and you can go and get it, right? It's not going to be some centralized race here where, you know, a bunch of politicians are deciding exactly where you should be in society. To basically saying that you have a lot of leeway, that you have a lot of freedom, right, is an understatement, right? You can basically go, especially if a lot of other countries are opening their borders and you're able to travel to these different countries. It's going to be amazing. Your own money is going to be in your hands. Nobody is going to have their hands in their pockets. So we may start to see the abolishing of taxes altogether. That when we're looking at the idea of how cities are managing themselves, it all comes together through people-powered operation, right? So they may have tariffs, for example. They may have, again, other particular types of systems that are coming together that actually provide funding, right? They may have funding divisions in their way. Through a decentralized society, we're basically looking at mainframes that are actually helping a city to grow. People will actually start to want to contribute a lot more, right? And through the contribution of their efforts, they can actually start to bring in an income. But I don't think income is really what's going to fuel a city, right? When we look at decentralization, we're looking at something that is, it's kind of like looking at the World Wide Web, but looking at it through a living city populace. So again, everything will really be available to you. Your own finances are going to be available to you. Your own bank account is going to be available to you. I think the idea of going in and being able to rent a house isn't going to seem so political as well too. So I guess the best way for me to describe it is everything that you know about centralized banking and centralized life, flip it upside down and look at its opposite. And that's what you're going to see, because I could probably spend 20, 30, 45 minutes talking about how decentralization works. Now, I've never lived in a decentralized society, so I couldn't tell you all of the facets of it, other than the idea that nobody has their hands in your pocket. Maybe they do decide exactly how they govern their city, about how it flourishes, about how people are able to build roads. Maybe there's funding that goes into that. Maybe there's collective funding that, again, is just available and is given to certain cities, right? So again, if we're looking at trillions and trillions of dollars that have been stolen by people, and with that, those trillions and trillions of dollars coming back, they're basically going to be like grants. And maybe you can have grants coming into cities or towns and start utilizing those grants to basically start building and flourishing a city. If you have trillions and trillions of dollars to share among the entire world, that certainly could be possible. So there may be the idea of grants that may be available for cities so that they can maintain themselves. There may also, again, be, as I've talked about, prosperity programs. So yes, I think everybody will be on a universal income. That universal income is pretty much inevitable. So that is a big part of decentralization right there, is that it feels like there is much more of a community. It feels like there's much more of a collaboration. It feels like more of a proper democracy, right? Where people aren't getting shafted and screwed around. So to look at a decentralized model, we would basically need to work with that together, work with cities in that sense. Other than the simple way of, through decentralization, you have much more of say on your life. You have much more say of your finances. People are not trying to steal from you. People are not trying to do this because this money is being available for everybody. Automation is really going to be a part of the future as well too. So you're going to have a lot of automation taking place. You're probably going to have a lot of AI running things. You're probably going to have like service robots coming in and doing a lot of the constructions. That's not right away, but that's going to be in probably the next couple of decades. We're probably going to see a lot more service robots doing everything, right? The common jobs for human beings are basically going to be replaced by automation. And a lot of universal income is going to be available for people. And I think it could be income that could be within the 5 or 6 figures for people. Because what I see in the future is I'm just seeing all of this great amount of wealth being given back to the entire world. And it's like every particular country has this particular type of wealth. And it's being given back. And it's like there's grants, there's grant applications, there's prosperity programs. Again, people have their own bank accounts, their own individual, what may call it, cryptocurrency or whatever it may be, their own universal terminal where they can access everything, where you can look at different types of currencies and you can invest in it. You can actually contribute time towards working with something and you get more contribution, right? So maybe you decide to work in a cafe, maybe you decide to work in a soup kitchen, maybe you decide to run your own business. There's something pertaining to the nature of merit, and that starts to become currency. The time that you put in, the experiences that you have. It feels like this new life is going to be about the time you put in, the experience that you have, what you earn through the nature of merit turns into currency. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting. So again, I'm just giving you guys little pieces of the puzzle right here. You guys can also tell me what you feel decentralization looks like, because like I said, I've never lived in a decentralized system. I have ideas of what it could be. I get visions of the impression about how things are going to be, but it's not about wars anymore, right? There's not going to be any more wars on the planet because you don't gain anything based on fighting. You don't gain anything based on causing other people to suffer. That's not going to work through a merit-based system. So wars are going to be completely finished. There's not going to be any more wars. There's not going to be any more starving people. right? Everything in regards to food production is going to start moving in the right way. People will know to start planting things a lot more, start growing more crops, not trying to poison people with processed foods and foods that are basically causing your body to collapse. All of that's going to go, right? This is not going to happen right away, but this is what we can see in the next couple of decades. Decentralization, even though it sounds like that, is actually bringing much more of a centralized connection of people together. People will want to work. People will want to help. People will want to be of assistance. People will want to earn merit. And that becomes their currency. So there you have it. That's part of what I can see relating to decentralization. But the best way to look at it is that everything that you see pertaining to centralized society right now, flip that upside down and you're getting an idea. Okay? But it's a very good question. I appreciate that you shared that. Okay, let's move on. I know a lot of people are going to have qualms about that. Yeah, but what about this? Is it going to really be going to be that good? Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I have to leave that open to you guys at the same time, right? What would a decentralized society look like to you? What would they be doing? I don't have all the answers for that. I'm just giving you little bits and pieces here and there of what I feel it could look like, but we haven't really lived in a decentralized society. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. Okay, Lakshi here asks, hi Brad, is the USD going to collapse soon? The petrodollar? Yes, it's pretty much on its way out. And I think a lot of other currencies are going to be taking its place. The petrodollar is just losing its integrity and it's going to continue to fall. I can't say it's going to completely plummet the next year, but probably within the next couple of years, it's not going to have that kind of value anymore. So petrodollar, I think, is on the way out, and new things, right? Some people may even start to invest in the BRICS currency coming together, or again, more cryptocurrency, whatever it may be. Like I said, quite a lot of new financial systems are going to come together. It's like how we're looking at all of these selections of apps that we have on our phone, right? We have an app here for word processing. We have an app here for image editing. We have an app here for DMs and so forth. We're going to basically have currency for all these different things, right? It's going to be a multiplexing currency, or currency system. So like I said, we're basically phasing out the old and new things are going to be coming together. And I think crypto will lead that charge because of its establishment over the past couple of decades. So there you have it. But yes, I do feel the petrodollar will be collapsing here, but not completely next year, but over the next couple of years, it's just going to go into a state of decline. No one really wants to invest in it that much anymore, so it does not have a good year ahead, or a good couple of years ahead. Francois also says, are solar flares going to make a difference in our lives in the next few years? Well, again, here's the thing, guys. There's no such thing as solar flares. So this is what I've talked about before. There's a video on my YouTube channel that is called The True Nature of the Sun, and you have to look at that. The sun does not produce heat. The sun does not have its own light, right? If we look into the idea of outer space being a vacuum void, devoid of any oxygen, how can the sun be hot? Right? If we're looking at outer space that is devoid of any particular type of gases, that really just operates as a vacuum, how do we have heat coming from the sun? Can any of you answer that? It's because we don't. We don't have heat. There is no heat, there is no light from the sun. The sun is a radioactive living well. It radiates radiation. That radiation makes contact with atmospheres of the planet. That connection between the sun's radiation together with the atmosphere of the planet is what creates a catalyst reaction representing light and heat, which means the only thing that's getting the light and the heat is the radioactive alignment between the radiation of the sun and our own atmosphere. And it is oxygen that's being the primer for that, right? This is why, again, when in low elevations and when you're around the equator, you have the richest content of oxygen and you have the most heat, right? But as you start moving up to the higher elevations where there's less and less oxygen, you have nothing but bitter cold, right? And again, that's really the whole science behind all of this, is that our oxygen is the primer to working together through the atmosphere to generate that intense amount of heat and warmth that comes upon our planet. It's like even if you're looking at Ken Wheeler's model, where he talks about the inertia plane the plane of inertia, right? To where all life, 95% of the life on our planet, exists around the equatorial regions of our planet. Okay, the further you go north, the further you go south, the more there's a declining of that richness of life. It's not favorable for it to be there. So again, we're looking at oxygen being a primer pertaining to the radiation given by the sun, transmuted through our own atmosphere that generates this light and heat, right? It's like I talk about in the True Nature of the Sun video pertaining to the example of bioluminescence, right? So when that radiation from the sun hits our atmosphere, you're talking about billions of vibrations per second. It is vibrating so powerfully against the atmosphere that that's actually what's producing light. And then that's what's producing heat through the exchange of oxygen, right? This is why I say, my friends, there is no such thing as a solar flare. There are solar plumes. We have plumes taking place. A plume is not the same as a flare. We're thinking it's just a bunch of heat, like we're just getting scorched by a flamethrower from the sun, and that's stupidness. That's not how the sun works, okay? The sun is not here ever to deliberately destroy its children, and its planets are seen as its children. It's not here to destroy the planet. It is nourishing the planet, right? When you basically have those plumes coming together, it's being absorbed directly into the earth, and scientists will say, well, the magnetic field is thinning. Yes, do you know why the magnetic field is thinning? Because we're going through a complete and total dielectric surge that's leading to an intensity of the earth itself moving herself upwards. She's shifting, she's growing, she's evolving, she's expanding, she's not dying. Okay? Even when you look at the sun, so the sun has a thinner magnetic field. Yes, the magnetic field starts to get thin because the interactivity between the dielectric and the magnetic are starting to spike. Has nothing to do with the sun dying. Has nothing to do with the sun going through any particular type of critical, dangerous changes. It is very natural. When there's a thinning of a magnetic field, that means the dielectric is stronger. When there's a dielectric shift, things are changing, which means you're basically transmuting. If we could basically put some particular type of device around you, when you're ill, when you have a fever, you will notice that your magnetic field will actually start to contract, because the dielectric is actually getting much more of the activity to helping you purge, to helping you release toxins. That's what happens. The thinning of a magnetic field is basically a transmutational effect to purge. It's a gigantic shift. The dielectric becomes stronger. These are scientists. Why don't they know this? Because they don't know how the sun works. They never have been able to know how the sun works until you start getting into the true nature of magnetic property, when you actually start to look at what magnetism actually is. And thanks to Ken Wheeler for bringing this out to the world, because it makes a lot of sense. Adronis has told me about this in the past, but much more in esoteric lingo. He's bringing it out much more in a technical lingo, and not just him, but other greats as well too. C.P. Steinmetz, Heaviside, James Clerk Maxwell, right? All of these other great minds, right, that are just kind of putting the pieces together, and Ken was really the guy that was kind of putting those pieces together and bringing forward those answers. There's no such thing as a solar flare. There's only solar plumes, right? And those plumes are, again, are ejections. Those are ejections of radiation that's coming upon the planet, and that is being absorbed into the earth, and that is what's causing the magnetic field to thin itself out a lot more, because it's a purging cycle. Like I said, we had some sort of device where we can hook you up and we could look at your magnetic field, and when you're ill, when you're sick, when you have a fever, your magnetic field will contract. It will start to thin, because that's a purging effect, right? So you do not need to concern about solar flares. The sun is not taking a flamethrower to the earth and scorching the earth. That has never happened in the history of, for as long as the sun has been with us, pertaining to the earth's immense age of billions of years old. She's never been scorched by the sun one time. And if she has, I would love to see the evidence. If that was true, we'd basically have land masses on this planet that would basically have scorches and that's never happened. We have had crater impacts and so forth, of course, but I don't recall anything in regards to any particular continent being charbroiled by the sun, because it doesn't work that way, right? So please, my friends, look at the true nature of the sun that is on my YouTube channel here. It'll bring you right up to speed about how the sun actually works. Okay? Thank you. All right, everybody, we are out of time, so I want to thank you all for your questions today. Again, I'll be back on Friday for the Wisdom Nexus. So again, we'll be taking personal readings as well, too, as more general questions. Thank you for joining me for the first episode of Earth Intelligence Report. I'll be back again next Wednesday as well, too, for the next episode. Thank you for making this a wonderful broadcast. I appreciate all of your questions, and I will talk to you on Friday. Take care, everybody. Blessings to you all. Namaskar. May it be well with you. Take care.